good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. Guys, I've been hearing a lot of channels say Anthony Joshua was fighting Gerald Washington. I've seen at least 20 channels post this stuff and they're speaking about it. Now, you saw what I posted in the beginning of the video. This is where it's like really difficult to want to even talk about certain things that you hear, because you're hearing one thing coming from one side and then something coming from another side. Now, that article was supposed to be the words of Malik Scott, saying that Anthony Joshua doesn't want any smoke with Wilder right now, so he's looking for a step down fight. And I said, damn, that would be some harsh and very insulting comments. The fact that Malik Scott is also the trainer of Gerald Washington. How are you Gerald Washington and then hear your trainer say, oh, well, we're going to put Gerald Washington in there because he's looking for a step down fight. Like he's telling you, nah, you're a step down. Okay, let me let you hear what Eddie Hearn had to say. And I also did hear about Chris Arreola. I heard his name first, but I haven't seen videos about Chris Arreola versus Anthony Joshua. I know two people did make a video about that, saying that that's what was going to happen. And then I didn't hear anybody else say anything, but I go to directly look. If you go on Anthony Joshua's Twitter, you go on his YouTube, his Instagram, or Eddie Hearn's, you don't see anything. No negotiations, nothing. No talk about any negotiations or no mentions of it. Let me let you hear what Eddie Hearn had to say about that.
Move on to Anthony Joshua. A few names have been thrown about. Obviously, the Chris Arreola name that we didn't know where it came from. Recently, we've seen, and we will just squash this one, Gerald Washington is a name that I've seen thrown about on Twitter for Anthony Joshua. I'm judging by your reaction, and I was going to say, please say it's not true.
Let me say one thing now. We have never had one conversation about the Chris Arreola fight, right? So this came out on across social, with people saying, him saying, I'm in negotiations for the Anthony Joshua fight. I've never had one conversation about Chris Arreola. That name's never been mentioned between myself and 258, AJ's team, whoever. And then he came out and said, no, Eddie's lying, we are in negotiations. I'm not. We're not fighting Chris Arreola, and I've never had a conversation about it.
Gerald Washington?
Absolutely not in a million years. I've never had a conversation about Gerald Washington, and we are not fighting Gerald Washington. Sorry. So, now, the bigger thing is, obviously, if we look to do an AJ fight early next year, then who's it going to be? In his head, he was fighting Tyson Fury. I don't think he wants to move down, to what might be perceived to be an easy fight. So that's where the Dillian Whyte conversations have come from. I think AJ just turned around and said, what about the Dillian Whyte fight? I think if I'm going to... All fights are tough, all camps are tough. What about Dillian? And obviously he has to beat Jermaine Franklin on November 26th. So we'll see what happens there. But that's really where we're at the moment.
Let's go into Dillian. Obviously he makes his return.
Okay. He just said, not in a million years. No, never. There are no negotiations with Chris Arreola or Gerald Washington. So it's funny because channels are reporting this. And you want to know what? I have to say this because this is where it comes from. Most of this is coming from either Deontay Wilder fanboy channels, and I know it because they're all saying shit like, oh yeah, see, he's not fighting the top tier guy, and he's this, he's that. And then also it's coming from people who are Fury supporters in terms of the fans responding to this shit. Because I've seen comments saying, oh, see, if it was Fury, it would be something different, right? Let me just respond to that, though. First off, when AJ came off of that last loss, his reaction at the end of the fight, the meltdown, everybody had something to say about it, including Tyson Fury. So basically, the state of mind that he was in at that moment, well, that's the last image that a lot of people saw of AJ, right? So they're still holding on to that. So my thing was, yeah, I don't think it would be a bad idea for him to keep two stay busy fights and, you know, refine his skills, and just get the work in, because, and then that was their whole thing. So I said, yeah, you know what? That was their idea, not mine. But I'm saying, yeah, I could understand that, because basically you have a guy that's a big name, a huge name in boxing, just coming off of 2 losses. Yeah, it was to Usyk, but at the same time, he still lost. Okay, so, okay, cool. Get him these little 2 fights. This is what they were talking about. Maybe a tour of China. Zhilei Zhang name came up and all of that. And so the thing was, after that, when all these different comments came up, I'm saying, well, first off, AJ's coming off of 2 losses. Tyson Fury, as I stated before, he's not coming off of a loss. And although Dillian Whyte is one of the top guys, again, he took no punishment in that fight, and it was easy work. So what reason would he have to take an easy fight? Nothing happened to him in the fight, okay? So the Deontay Wilder side, where people are saying, oh, yeah, he's about to fight Gerald Washington. Gerald Washington's a bum. Hold up. You guys are calling Gerald Washington a bum, but you celebrated, and this is not a shot at Deontay. You know, Deontay took the fight that was given to him, or how it worked out or whatever. It was his title eliminated fight with Robert Helenius. But you guys got the nerve to say Gerald Washington is a bum and said Wilder already knocked him out. Yeah, but at the same time, Gerald Washington knocked out Robert Helenius and beat him up before he knocked him out in the 8th round. And not only that, you guys were celebrating Wilder versus Helenius like this was some Super Bowl. This is exactly the type of things why when I make videos and I reiterate on things, because I know certain things are going to be overlooked and we're going to go to the next phase and people are going to go, oh, well, this and that and that and this, without acknowledging what happened before that, what led to that. Anthony Joshua is coming off of 2 losses. Deontay Wilder is coming off of 2 losses. They both lost to the same guy. Wilder with Fury and AJ with Usyk. So they both have that in common. Wilder coming back and saying, there's no heavyweight division without me. The excitement is back. And we're saying, yeah, we want to see you do that against Fury, against AJ, against White, against Ruiz. You understand what I'm saying? We want to see you do that against Joseph Parker. That type of stuff. Joe Joyce. Not a guy, I mean, as far as Helenius, yeah, you did what you were supposed to do. But the fight itself and him as an opponent, it didn't ring any bells. Nobody cared. So if this was about a stay busy fight, 2 stay busy fights like they were saying, this was the idea that they had. But they never said exactly to who and how much of a step down of an opponent it would be. So we don't know who. Like I said, the only name that came up was Zhilei Zhang. And that might have been just the possibility of, I don't know if they negotiated with him, because like I said, they were talking about doing a tour of China. But it's funny how you guys seem to forget so quickly. Yeah, you're calling Gerald Washington a bum. And I never thought much of Gerald Washington. But he's a better bum than the guy that Wilder just fought in Helenius, because like I said, he beat him up and knocked him out. But how do you celebrate Wilder versus Helenius, but then say, oh, AJ's fighting a bum? It just goes to show you the bias, and also you're hoping he's in that state, in that same frame of mind of he's in that meltdown stage, unsure of himself. So yeah, you would, even though you're saying, oh, see, look, he's fighting a bum like Gerald Washington. Oh, wait. Now, when I called Gerald Washington a bum and Wilder fought him and was losing the fight until he knocked him out in the 5th round, then you remember that, well, nah, he was better back then. Stop it. My whole thing was the video I wanted to make initially had nothing to do with Wilder. And I was basically going to say, I haven't seen that anywhere, but I'm hearing that that's what it's supposed to be. And I saw the article and then I posted it because I'm saying, well, where is this even coming from? Well, like I said, according to, look, Eddie Hearn said the same thing that Chris Arreola is saying that, oh, Eddie Hearn's lying, that we're in negotiations. And he's like, I never even talked to Chris Arreola. And Then the article is saying that Malik Scott is saying that they're trying to get a fight against Gerald Washington. And I'm thinking, now, is this true? Is he saying this hoping Eddie and AJ may think, hey, that's not a bad idea or whatever? I don't know. Because if you're going to fight, you want to start promoting things early. You don't wait till later. That's why I knew the Terrence Crawford fight, it had to be something to it with Avanesian, because that fight came out of nowhere. And now we're getting reports that Terrence Crawford and Avanesian already had negotiations going on for a while, and that there was a contract in Terrence Crawford's possession since October the 6th, and he never responded to it. It's already late October. So I'm saying, for Anthony Joshua to fight in December, you want to start preparing for a particular opponent, right? So is it one or the other? Is it Chris Arreola or Gerald Washington, right? Now we're hearing that it's neither. And when I first heard it, I can't say I believed it or didn't believe it. I just felt like, okay, then I didn't hear anything. I know what I do when I hear news. And then I said, okay. And that's why for everybody that put that video out, I didn't. Because I'm saying, let me see. Let me look into this. Now we hear from Eddie Hearn that, no, he's not in negotiations with neither one. And they never have any intentions on fighting those guys. So it just goes to show you, though. See, Anthony Joshua, any fighter, you can do it like they do in the UFC. You can lose a fight after having a solid career and you're doing what you're doing. And then you can lose 2 fights in a row. And then you can decide, nah, fuck it. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep going against the top guys. And then win, lose, or draw. It is what it is. The thing with that is, let's say if he did fight Fury and then he lost. Then let's say after that, he fights Joe Joyce and he loses. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Then it's like, damn, bro, that's 4 straight losses. That's you understand what I mean? Like, then what? You gonna be fighting Jake Paul after that? Like, you understand? So it's one of those things where in boxing, it's not uncommon for fighters to take a lesser opponent because they, come off with 2 straight losses or something like that. But as far as just out of the blue, I'm just going to fight a low-tier fighter. Nah. No. Like I said, champions, elite fighters, they do elite things. But that is the type of situation where I can understand somebody coming off of 2 losses. You're a brand, you have a lot tied to this, and you're trying to rebuild. We get that. And that would be the only reason for me to even, whether any fighter. It's like, okay, we get it. Look at all the fucking fighters who just fight nothing but easy fights. Fight a tough guy and fight 3 or 4 straight easy guys. And one tough guy, another 2 or 3 easy guys. Like, so this whole situation has basically come down to what? The Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight didn't happen. Which then you look at it and think, all the shit that they were saying about AJ stalling, him and Hearn was holding the contract stalling. Okay, you never know because you're not there. I don't see a reason for that. They could have just rejected the fight and just said, look, we got other plans. Thanks, but no thanks. And went on. It don't matter if people say, oh, they stupid, they this and that. AJ's been champion. He's been unified champion twice. So it's not like if the fight doesn't happen, like, oh, that's it for AJ, he's out in the cold. No, there's a lot of fights for AJ out there. I don't know. You guys come up with this dumb shit. Oh, man, that's the only options here. You listen to what other people say, and then you don't use your common sense. Are you kidding? AJ's a money fight for anybody. So whatever the plans were initially, and Eddie Hearn himself said, they wanted to have him fight in December and then again in March. But now, what he said, fighting against Dillian Whyte maybe early next year. So you're hearing it right from Eddie Hearn now. So if that will be the case, then he's like, nah, I'm not trying to go and fight someone easy, or that's considered easy. Those can be banana peel fights too, because you might go in there underestimating, just thinking, I'm going to run through this guy. And then all of a sudden, that guy fights a little better than what you thought, or just something goes wrong. You hurt yourself in that fight and lose due to that. Let's not forget too, for all you fucking Fury lovers, okay? This motherfucker was trying to fight Manuel Char. And he didn't fucking lose a fight. His excuse was, oh, I'm just trying to stay busy. I'm not going to put my career on hold for AJ. Nobody's telling you to put your career on hold. The whole point was you pulled out the fight yourself and tried to make it look like it's because they didn't sign a contract. But then now all of a sudden, he's supposed to be fighting Derek Chisora for a third time. So you understand what I mean? If Anthony Joshua fights Dillian, well, Dillian beat Chisora twice. If he was to fight Gerald Washington, which you hear Eddie saying, no, that's never even in the conversation. Well, Gerald Washington knocked out the guy, Robert Helenius, that you guys tried to sell us as a Super Bowl fight. Yeah, Helenius is tough. This is gonna be a competitive fight. Yeah, Helenius ain't no joke. Well, yeah, but then you called Gerald Washington a bum. You see how you guys are. The second you heard this lie, this rumor, whatever you want to call it, as soon as you heard it, you started immediately attacking Anthony Joshua. Oh, look, he's fighting this bum, Gerald Washington. But y'all forgot that this motherfucker beat Helenius, right? And by knockout. Anyways, so as far as we're concerned, it's fake news. And as far as Chris Arreola is concerned, I mean, I haven't heard anything about Chris Arreola. But I did hear like two people made of an actual video saying that that's who Anthony Joshua was fighting, and I never even talked about it. And that's the only two channels that I heard talking about it. Where the fuck they get that from? I never talked about it. And then, like I said, as of recent, at least 20 different videos are about Anthony Joshua versus Gerald Washington, and they all tell you the same thing, what Malik Scott said. I mean, so I don't care about the back and forth of who's lying and who's this. Well, obviously, they're not talking about fighting this guy. And like I said, I never saw anything posted. I didn't hear anything. You know, I don't know Eddie Hearn or AJ personally. I don't need to know them. But one thing you need to understand is, as a businessman, as someone who's in the line of fire when things go down, I can look and say this. What would they have to gain by saying they want to fight these guys and then saying that they don't want to fight them? That it's a lie. It's not true. We're not negotiating. Okay, when you start negotiating and you start sending term sheets and contracts, you know, those are receipts. And he said he's never even had a conversation with them. And to be honest with you, I haven't heard anything from anybody. Just the speculation, and all of it's coming from one person's mouth, from my understanding, is Malik Scott. Malik Scott's the same guy that always tell you Wilder's a different fighter. Wilder's this. He's going to do this. He's better than Muhammad Ali. He's 10 times better than Muhammad Ali. Wilder's this. Wilder's... Okay, it's his guy. But we just heard it from Eddie Hearn. So speculation is over, and there's no need to do any fucking videos about Anthony Joshua versus Gerald Washington, because as we know, it's not happening. His focus is Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is fighting this guy, Jermaine, whatever. This was the guy that he was talking about fighting last year as his U.S. American debut. So he's fine. That's the guy he's actually fighting now. So they talked about fighting before on this upcoming card. It's not a fight that I'm interested in, you know. Now, if anybody took an easy fight, it's Dillian Whyte. Because this guy that we're talking about, I've seen him fight. He's not well known, you know, seen him. Okay. If that same guy fought Luis Ortiz, I'd go with Luis Ortiz doing. So this is not a step up fight for Dillian. This is a keep busy, easy fight. That's how this is viewed. So at the end of the day, no AJ versus Gerald Washington. Talk to me in the comment section. Basically, the news that you guys are hearing, you just heard, is irrelevant. So it doesn't even matter. What do you think? Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte. And pretty much, if that's what he's trying to go after, you just heard what Eddie said. Now, if they had anything lined up, don't you think Eddie would have said, no, we're not talking to such and such, but we are talking to fight such and such by December. And Eddie said they wanted to keep him busy. They wanted to have him fight December and then again by March. So that's the one thing that he said at the press conference, that Anthony Joshua, he hasn't been in the ring as often as they would like to be. So think about it. If they had something in the works, this is a perfect time for Eddie Hearn to say it. No, we're not negotiating with them, but we are negotiating with Zilly Zhang or with whoever. No. And then two, just because you say somebody's name, that's not negotiations. Like you can say, like I didn't hear him say Zilly Zhang. I saw that in an article. And then people repeat these things because they see the same articles. But I never heard AJ or Eddie Hearn say that. So, even to say you're looking at different opponents and you're trying to like see who's out there to, who could we fight to stay busy. Someone that, basically is going to be a good fight. Might not be one of the very elite, but next to it, like a FA or job or something like that. I'm telling you guys, it's a situation where you don't know what to believe at times. And then even whether you believe or don't, you just sit back and listen to what's being said. The reality is time will play things out. You'll see how things go. But again, this would be the perfect opportunity for him to say who they were fighting if they had a fight coming up. You heard what he just said. He said that's where we are right now. He wants the Dillian Whyte fight. And more than likely, if he fights Dillian, he'll want the Wilder fight after that. More than likely. So, win, lose, or draw for any fighter. I'm not saying, he shouldn't fight this person. I'm saying whatever their plans are, certain things I can understand, and then there's other things I don't agree with. But, with any fighter. But it's their choice. And from what I'm hearing, come on, y'all. Sounds to me like it's going to be Dillian Whyte. Unless Dillian Whyte fuck around and lose somehow, some kind of way in his up and coming fight that he has. Well, we will see. But we know Gerald Washington was never in. Chris Arreola was never in, according to Eddie Hearn. So people, can but look at what they did with Counterband and they're connecting stuff. Like one thing has nothing to do with the other, but to the point of where people that want to believe that, as in a way of saying, yeah, look at AJ trying to take the easy way out. No, nobody was ever saying he should take the easy way out. It's not about that. It's about confidence building fights, and they wanted to keep him busy just to get the work in, keep the work in, keep sharp. And that's what Eddie Hearn said. A fight in December, a fight in March, then they wanted Dillian, then they wanted Deontay. That's exactly what Eddie said last time. So their story is the same in terms of Joshua's situation. With the exception of now, they're not talking about December and then again in March. They're talking about Dillian Whyte. So this fight is about to happen soon with Whyte, and pretty much early 2023. Okay, so let's just say whatever. Well, whatever they negotiate on, if that fight comes into fruition, that'll be up to them. But pretty much, maybe they'll have maybe in March. Maybe they'll have their fight set for March. Who knows? But December will be skipped for Anthony Joshua. That's what it looked like as of now. Now, if they come up with a different opponent, with the other opponent for December, which I don't really think so, because it's almost November now. And like I said, this would be the perfect time for Eddie to start putting names out there. So I think Anthony Joshua is just going back to what he's doing. And pretty much, instead of the fight in December like he wanted to, maybe like I said, he'll just keep training, spar, do what he has to do. And then maybe him and Whyte in March. Who knows? But again, y'all just heard it from Eddie. So let me know what y'all think. Especially about the comparisons with Helenius, and with Helenius and Wilder being looked at as a super fight. People was trying to put that out there like this was competitive. But at the same time, he lost to Gerald Washington, who people was quickly assassinating Anthony Joshua for that fight. But we come to find out, no, at least from her saying, it was never something that they were in talks about at no point in time. And let's just be real. Anthony Joshua does not negotiate fights for himself. That's what the promoter does. That's what he has Hearn for. He doesn't do it himself. So you think that Eddie that Joshua is out there calling people, hey, yeah, Drell, man, what I'm thinking about me and you, what you think about a fight between the two of us. And Eddie Hearn doesn't know about it. So like, stop it, y'all. Anyway, never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.